then, the reduction of violence in media and video games. I think, it's probably a good idea when you have a video game and it says mature, or whatever. I haven't played video games in so long. I don't really know a lot of it. But I know there's ratings on stuff, just like there's ratings for movies. And I think that's appropriate, and to not sell video games that are rated mature to minors and stuff like that. But it's the duty of parents, as a parent, part of parenting, to protect your kids from video games that are violent on and stuff. And there's times when the parent won't be there to help the kid, but basically it's not the government's job to be a nanny to help with that, because who's to draw the line where what's acceptable and what's not what's unacceptable. So free speech is infringed in that. There's no two ways about
that. And even if we did determine that there was some place for the United States government to be involved in any kind of regulation of media, that it doesn't follow that the United Nations has a say in our own country on this.
Right. And then there's another specific goal that's listed in this June 2010 meeting, the record from the meeting, and it was mentioned that one of the goals is the bending of swords into plows. And
it's code for going from violence to peace, apparently.
Yeah, but there's an interesting quote we'll bring up relating to that. I'm sure some of you are aware of it. But anyway.
Our gut instinct on this treaty is that it could be a backdoor way for the Obama administration to implement some sort of gun control, and they don't have to have necessarily as much domestic support for this, and that won't necessarily result in the loss of political capital. That means that Obama won't be able to be reelected because he does something unpopular like this.
Well, the thing is, yeah, I mean, after '94, a lot of politicians realized that supporting gun control is a losing issue. Gun control organizations haven't really backed down, in the U.S. at least. I'm speaking strictly in a domestic sense here. Basically Obama realizes that if he tried to push through some heavy gun control legislation, before his second term, that it's very likely, that he would lose the election because of that. I mean, it's just, especially with the gun sales going up in recent years, after the Obama election, there's a lot, I would say, there's either more gun owners, or not only an increase in gun owners, but an increase in the amount of guns that individual gun owners own. Basically, there's less and less support for gun control, I think, overall in the country. And so Obama can't push this through domestically. He can't, it just won't work.
However, this treaty would come up in 2012, which is still in his first term before he would be potentially reelected. So,
and if the Senate ratifies it and it becomes, it gets passed in the UN, because a lot of people would view it as preventing arms getting into the hands of terrorists, they view it as a noble cause, something, and they don't really understand that it's very possible that this legislation's wording in the UN could be changed to possibly restrict private gun ownership in the countries that that are members there.
Yeah, it's still in the drafting phase, so we don't know.
It could be changed possibly later. I mean,
we won't know until 2012 what specifically could be. So,
looking through the wording in the document so far, I haven't really been able to find anything that directly points to private gun ownership regulations in the countries, in the UN. I mean, there's hints at it here and there, but not something outright. I'm not sure if there will be. I mean, if there's something outright, I know the NRA is going to be bent way out of shape about that one. They're not only going to launch probably a pretty good media campaign against it, but I mean, I'm not sure. It's tough to say. Basically, for Obama, if he wanted to pass through any gun control legislation through this method, he would have to keep it as under wraps as possible. The less people know about it, there's no one to complain.
And again, if a unanimous vote isn't required to pass it, something like this that is contrary to our domestic laws that we would certainly oppose could still become binding in the United Nations potentially, and we'd have to abide by something that we didn't support. And as you know, Americans don't exactly like not having representation in their governments.
Well, and the thing too, people are like, well, even if it gets passed, no one's going to enforce it here. Well, that's very possible in the near future.
It's also very possible that it won't be enforced in other countries. We don't, and that's
Right.
part of the problem with it.
But what's really dangerous about it is it's a tool for possible tyrannical governments to use against people in the United States to justify gun control laws. Well, one of the justifications could be that it's the UN passed it, it's part of the treaty, and it's just basically, even if it gets passed and the way it's worded infringes on gun ownership in America and other countries, and even if it's not implemented by the United States, then it's possible it could be later, and it's just a dangerous thing to have sitting around, in my opinion.
I think that's pretty much going to wrap up what we have on this topic for this episode. We just wanted to remind you, all of you who are now rushing out at the behest of the United Nations to turn your swords into plows, of a well-known quote of wisdom here.
It's those who beat their plows, or let me re-quote this. Those who beat their swords into plowshares usually end up plowing for those who did it. And that's pretty much self-explanatory. So
thanks for watching this episode. I hope that it was informative and enjoyable. We do want to mention that yesterday we received word via various news outlets that an Arizona Congresswoman by the name of Gabrielle Giffords, she was holding a rally, and
it was actually a meeting at a supermarket to talk with her constituents.
And during the
I'm
meeting,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut
it's,
them off.
bottom line is she and a bunch of constituents and some of her staff were there, and
And a
man,
judge, a federal judge, I think.
Yeah, a federal judge. And so what happened specifically?
Well, a nut job walked up and put a gun basically right to the back of her head, shot her, killed a bunch of other people. I think he killed six
People, I think was the final count,
Yeah.
including the judge.
Yeah, she survived, but
She's in surgery, and they're still working on
Yeah.
her. But we're very thankful that she survived, and we send our condolences to the families of anybody who was injured or
was killed, injured. Yeah, I mean it's a horrible thing what happened, and regardless if you disagree with someone, that's no justification to go out and just blow them away.
So we want to mention that next week we are planning on doing our episode detailing the events and the background and everything too.
We'll see what we can pull up from it. I mean, we want to come up. Our goal in this show is to pull up accurate information. We're honest. If we don't know, we either don't put it in our video or we just tell you. So we'll do our best to see what we can come up with regarding that in our next episode. So, and we're not this serious in real life. Just a heads up. We're a little new to this, so we're going to try to keep this as casual as possible. But
so, and if you have any suggestions for how to keep this fun and entertaining, please let us know. No, actually, maybe we better not.
No, I think there's going to be some crude comments that are going to show up.
This is true. We're only going to take non-crude comments on this one.
I think that's about it, Cal.
That's about it. Thanks a lot for your time.
All right, stay safe.